And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Wednesday, November 30th. I'm your host for today's program. And today we go directly to an interview with Rob Wheeler, someone who's working on a webpage in an effort to bring one of our beloved Olympic medalists, Jim Thorpe, back from his resting spot in Pennsylvania to Oklahoma, where his family is. Robert Wheeler, thanks for joining with us today on the Native News Update and IndianCountryTV.com. We're going to talk a little bit about your efforts and your father's efforts to do something pretty interesting that's historic for a very famous person for Indian country. But I want to give you a chance to tell the public out there who you are and how you got involved with this, okay?
Okay, so my name's Rob Wheeler. I'm a senior at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and from an early age, I've always felt attached to Jim Thorpe, and especially his eldest son Bill. He's basically been an adopted grandparent for me, and he's always been a very close family friend. And so my involvement came about probably a couple weeks ago when I was speaking with my parents, and I had been in contact with Bill, and I was aware of the fact that Jim Thorpe was buried in non-native land in a place where he had never visited, and I had been hearing, from hearsay from my parents that the Sac and Fox lawyers were attempting to get his body moved back to Sac and Fox land, and so he could have a proper Indian burial. And one of the things my parents were talking about was getting a petition signed. And my parents actually got a petition signed to get his medals restored back in the early 80s. And they were talking about doing something similar now. And my initial reaction was, well, why don't we do something on the internet? Because it's very cheap, very easy, and very fast to get information out to people through the internet. And as considering I go to a technology school, I have a little bit of a personal experience with web design and things like that. So I volunteered to with a little bit of funding to get the website started and to put all the information out myself and to be the webmaster.
Let me ask a couple questions. One, tell me a little bit about the history of your family and the Thorpe family. You said Bill's a personal friend. Tell us a little bit about why Bill and the family are friends with you. I want to hear a little bit about your father here for a minute.
Well, my dad's master's thesis was on Jim Thorpe. He wrote a biography on him, and he was very unhappy with the quality of the biographies that had been done up to the point when he started writing his. And so he actually hitchhiked all the way over across the country, interviewing hundreds and hundreds of people, and to try to find out the true story, to bring out the truth of Jim Thorpe. And he actually got interested in Jim Thorpe similar to the way I did. His father, or my grandfather, gave him a book which had the 100 greatest athletes in it. And of course, number one was Jim Thorpe. And he found it particularly interesting, as did I, that Jim Thorpe was great at all the sports, or a vast amount of sports, whereas most of the other people focus on one sport. And so this interest is always, run deep in my family. And since in 1983, my parents actually got his gold medals restored. They had been taken away during Jim Thorpe's lifetime, and
right.
Since then, our family has been close with the Thorpes. And growing up, a lot of my fondest memories are playing golf with Bill, or having him teach me how to play golf, because he's a fantastic golfer.
Yeah, I know that in the future we're probably going to have your father on here, and one of the members of the Thorpe family. It could be Bill, it could be somebody else. But indeed, when we look over the history of Jim Thorpe, and I'm sure your father could talk intimately about everything that he was involved. I was just poking around, and he got offered to be a professional boxer at one time, even. So the diversity of his capabilities seemed pretty wide. And I'll tell you a little bit of connection of this. Thorpe went to Carlisle Institute there, that's in Pennsylvania too, I believe, Carlisle. and he went to Haskell, and my great grandfather went to Haskell at the same time that Thorpe was there, either as a student or vice versa as a coach or something, and then he was at Carlisle as well, and so they had a little bit of a history together during that area. A lot of tribal people from this area went to Haskell or Carlisle or vice versa. So, and we remember the effort to get the medals restored. That took almost, what, 15 or 20 years to accomplish that? Tell us a little bit about what the website looks like right now and what's there for people to find and where it is.
Okay, so currently the URL is jimthorperestinpeace.com. No spaces, just those words. And if you go to the site right now, it'll land on our mission statement.
Okay.
And it basically outlines what we're trying to do. And if you browse throughout the rest of the site, there's testimonials there's testimonials from Bill and Jack Thorpe, as well as from my parents and the Sac and Fox Nation of Oklahoma. And then there's also history of Jim Thorpe and of his burial outlined on the website, just so people know all the facts.
People understand the history. Third wife by the name of Patricia, in the middle of a tribal funeral, absconded with a body, and literally found a city, two cities, if I'm reading the history right, and I heard a little bit about it, but I like the in-depth about this. Two cities who joined together to become Thorpe, Pennsylvania, and build a special site in mausoleum to hold them in. And no issues. Frankly, my understanding is there's really no issues with the Thorpe family and the city in the past in terms of how they've treated.
No, certainly not. They've done a very good job of honoring Jim Thorpe.
It's just that the family members, the children appear to have all been together. We understood that Grace at one time decided to make peace with the city of Thorpe, Pennsylvania, but essentially the entire family has had the consensus that their father's body needs to be returned to the Sac and Fox Reservation, which I believe is it Strout, Oklahoma, the area that you're talking about?
Yes, I believe that's it.
Okay. Have you been down to the Sac and Fox Reservation or to visit down there yet?
I have. It's been quite a while. I actually have a trip planned over my Christmas break.
Okay. And my understanding that family members are down there with your father, and they're looking at the cemetery there to see how it might accommodate Jim Thorpe if this is successful. So what is the status of the lawsuit and the attempt to get Thorpe back to Oklahoma?
Okay, so currently from my understanding from speaking with the lawyer and my parents is that the lawyer is trying to use the Native American Repatriation Act from 1990, I believe.
Yes.
And their side of the argument is that it's clearly stated in Native American beliefs that Jim Thorpe should be buried on native soil, and it's also the beliefs and wishes of the living sons, as well as the entire Sac and Fox tribe, to have him buried there. And so the Sac and Fox lawyers are attempting to use those facts along with the public support, which hopefully the website will garner, and to bring that before a federal judge and get his body moved back. The city of the borough of Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, is using the signed document they received from Patricia Thorpe back when his body was moved there. And since she was his widow at the time, technically she had rights to his body then,
right.
And so they're using that as their argument. However, I did hear recently that the city of Jim Thorpe was actually asking the federal judge to throw the case out. However, he denied that, and so it will come before a federal judge in the near future.
So let's say this much. My understanding is that Jim Thorpe had no children with Patricia. Patricia was the third wife, that
Yes.
all the children represent the first two wives, and had no say whatsoever in the transportation of his body to Pennsylvania for this,
She,
almost like a tourist trap, a sideshow. You might want to go to a county fair and look at the woman with a beard kind of a thing. Let's check it out, even though my understanding it's been very respectful in terms of how they've dealt with this. But aside
yeah,
from
yeah, I would say they've definitely done a great job honoring him, and I would hate to vilify them at all because all the intentions that Jim Thorpe have been very honest, I would say. But one of the interesting things, which I believe I outlined in this, I'm not entirely sure, but when when Patricia took his body, she actually sort of forcibly took it because she showed up with two Oklahoma State troopers and with a law signed by I believe it was the governor at the time. I'd have to double check that, but and moved his body against the wishes of his family.
okay, so right now there seems to be a little bit of legal resistance about the return. When do we think there might be a decision? We only got about a minute left. Do we know if there's going to be a decision? And the second thing, what can people do to help this cause out?
Well, there's certainly going to be a decision sometime in the near future. The court date is, as to my knowledge, has not yet been set. However, one thing that people can do if they want to show their support is go to jimthorperestinpeace.com and click on Show Your Support. And there's a very simple, fast, and easy form that people can fill out there. And all their personal information is obviously safe. And every single person who fills that out and shows their support will be one more voice that is heard in the federal case.
Okay, I think we'll close it out there. Rob, we want to express our appreciation for you joining with us today. Any one last message to the world out there?
Let Jim Thorpe rest in peace.
Thanks for joining with us again, Rob.
Thanks for having me.
And that is another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank you for joining with us and come back again soon.